Hi, this is Gary with MacMost.com. On today's episode, let's take a look at the Activity Monitor utility. So Activity Monitor is found in your Applications Utilities folder, but I'm going to run it using Spotlight Search. And it comes up here and it's got this big list with some options here at the top, some more information at the bottom, and some menu choices here. Now I must start by saying that for most users you never have to use Activity Monitor. Matter of fact, this can be kind of scary for a lot of users. You see all these processes running. There's 242 processes running on your Mac. There's going to be about 200 even if you're not doing anything with your Mac. You don't have any applications open at all. And there's really nothing for you to do in here. You don't need to maintain anything. You don't need to worry about what these processes are or what they're doing. A lot of these are system processes and there's just really not that much information you can find out here. If you're really curious about what something does or what something is, you can do a Google search for it. But in most cases it's just part of the regular operating system. Things that are maintaining your Mac, things that are handling things in the Finder, things you don't need to worry about. Now if you want to cut through all of this and just view the applications you're using, you can go to the View menu here, and here you can see all your options for what processes you can view. And all processes is selected. Now My Processes isn't going to get much better because a lot of these are general user processes. Anything here that's user Mac most will show up under My Processes. What you probably want is windowed processes, which are applications you're using. So here you can see all the applications I'm currently using, and these are things I recognize and know what they are. And now let's look at these columns here. We can see that we've got the percent of CPU, and I can sort by that by clicking on the column head here. And I can see that QuickTime Player is using most of the CPU process because I'm recording this right now for you. And you can see these other applications aren't using anything right now. They're in the background and they're not actually doing anything. Now you may wonder why this is more than 100%. It's because I have multiple processors on this Mac. Most Macs do. Even one processor Mac will have multiple cores. So you'll see numbers that are multiples of 100%. 100% being one processor. You can also switch to other things like memory, how much memory each thing is using. And again, this is not something most users have to pay attention to, and you don't really have to worry about how much memory something's using. You have a lot of memory in your Mac and it's going to use these for the processes instead of just letting them sit idle. A lot of times a process doesn't really need that much memory, but will use it if it's available to make it faster. If you run another application, then you might find that some apps will then cut down on the amount of memory they're using. You can also look at energy as well. Now this Mac is plugged into the wall here. It's a Mac Pro, so energy impact isn't really that important. But on a MacBook you could use this to kind of figure out what you've got running now that's draining your battery. Usually it's going to be the app that you're using the most, so you'd expect it to be draining the battery. But every once in a while you could find, say, a third-party app that's using a little more than you think it should. You can also find disk input and output here to see how much each app is using the disk and also how much each app is using the network. Now as I switch between these tabs here at the top, I can also see this general readout here that will give information here about the network, about disk use, energy use. You can see a graph here of energy use and times when it's hardly using any and times when it's using a lot. All sorts of information about memory use here, and again you don't have to really worry about this too much because apps are going to use memory that's available, and also CPU use as well. You also have some extra windows here. You can bring up a CPU usage window, and here I've got on my Mac Pro 8 cores, so there's 8 processors here, and I can see their use. Now let me bring up something like, say, the Maps app here, and I'm going to actually use it. You can see it start to use a little bit of CPU here, and as I move around and even rotate, you can see it's going to start to use a lot more, and you can see the processor use up. So you can imagine rotating 3D images here in a large window is going to use some decent amount of processor power. You could also bring up a window here that shows you the history. So it's going to give you this graph here. It'll start graphing a CPU usage history. So you can see what's going on over a period of time. So if I switch to Maps here and start moving this around and rotating it, it'll show me a spike coming up here. And then if I quit the Maps app, it'll drop down as it's not using that much processor power anymore. I'm not really doing anything else with the other apps. If you want to search for something specific, you can switch back to all processes here and use the search field. So for instance, if you want to find the iTunes helper, you can just type iTunes and it isolates just that one there, or anything that includes part of that description. So you can do that. You can also double click on something to see a little bit more information about it here, and you can try to quit it here as well. So you can quit and force quit an app or background process if you need to. Most of the time, of course, you wouldn't need to do something like that. You also have the fun ability to be able to change the icon. If you go to View and you go to Dock Icon, you can change it from the application icon to showing CPU usage, for instance. And then you're going to get a little chart down here that's going to show you, there you go, there's the CPU use, and you can see that go up. Say if I'm rendering some video, when I'm done making this tutorial here, I'll see that shoot up, and I can just leave that running in the background. I don't have to have this visible, and I'll have this little icon here in the dock. So for the most part, you never need to use Activity Monitor, but it's good to know that the utility is there.